Good evening, Men Over 50, a project by Tommy and Alan Photography. Remembering the names of those lost to AIDS, the AIDS Memorial Quilt returns to San Francisco. And Baylands Frontrunners celebrates 20 years of fun and fitness on this April 2012 edition of Outlook Video. And welcome to Outlook Video, your nationally recognized award-winning news magazine for gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and the rest of the alphabet communities. I'm Raymond Donald Hong, and can you believe it's already April?
Yeah, Pride Month is only 2 months away and counting. Good evening, I'm Christine Hancock. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, it's been a while. This month, Tom Smith catches up with photographers Tommy Wu and Alan Reade of Tommy and Alan Photography, partners in business and partners in life. They recently moved to Los Angeles from the Bay Area to work on their new project, Men Over 50. More on that later in the program.
To commemorate 30 years of AIDS, portions of the NAMES Project AIDS Memorial Quilt were on display in San Francisco. Kim Lawson and Raymond were in the Castro that day to talk with Cleve Jones and Kelly Rivera Hart. Cleve was one of the founders of the AIDS Memorial Quilt, which is now stored in Atlanta. Since its inception, it has grown beyond any single space to show all of the panels in their entirety. Also, later in this half hour, we have continuing coverage on the Proposition 8 appeal decision.
And continuing our 25 years of broadcasting, we dig into the vaults to show you a glimpse of our history. This month's Blast from the Past, not surprisingly, is our coverage of the NAMES Project AIDS Memorial Quilt on display in Washington, D.C. and San Jose.
Health and fitness continues to play an important role in our lives.
Well, sitting down and standing up is the only exercise I get.
Well, we have two people from Baylands Frontrunners, a running and walking club in the LGBT community, who are here to talk with Jay Raley on the group's 20th anniversary later in the half hour. But first, Tom Smith with Tommy and Alan Photography.
Hi, I'm Shelley Wright, and you're watching Outlook Video.
I'm delighted to be here today with Alan Reade and Tommy Wu of Tommy Allen Photography. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, yes.
So how did this come about, this partnership and your interest in photography, Alan?
Well, it really started with Tommy being a photographer and, having all the technical know-how to make good photographs happen. And then we decided we wanted to move more into, photographs that were about concepts. Right, so we got into some projects, and Tommy had a few photos, but then they turned into full projects as we started looking at them and really liking their looks.
So Alan, my understanding is you're more on the creative side, and Tommy, you're more on the technical side. Do I have that correct?
And we both combine our visions together to create, our brand and our project's directions.
So you work collaboratively. So I visited your website, and I saw two projects you're working on. One, Men Over 50, the other, Sexy Geeks. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, the geek concept, actually, we talked about what we could do, harvest when we live in the valley here. And Alan came up with wait a minute, we have so many sexy men here which are in the tech. So therefore, we just tried it out with, some of these geeks and go.
Yeah, and it took off. I mean, what happened was we started thinking, well, there's a lot of guys who work in tech who have a sexy side. So let's just, take some photographs and see what happens. And it went more into the comedy realm because we started making them look really geeky. And then working in LA, we found that there weren't that many guys in the tech industry per se, so we expanded the concept a little bit. So we included guys in the fashion industry, there was one guy doing video editing, and we have someone coming up who's a physical therapist.
So kind of a wide span of people that you kind of have come across in Silicon Valley, where most people, I've been 30 years in high tech, so it's kind of interesting that you're so familiar with it, you don't see it in the same way as you guys would, because you're more artistic about it and you have that aesthetic eye to it. So very interesting. What other type of work are you working on?
Well, right now we're working on some concepts that deal with architecture and people at the same time. So it's still in the idea phase, but we love taking pictures of architecture, and being able to capture that in an interesting way is our goal, so that it's not just about, the bones of the house or the walls, but about what happens within the house or what happens within that building. And so we're starting to photograph people in different settings and do some site-specific work.
And you find some good architecture in LA, is that right?
I'm sure we will. And also the point is, like, you know, we very well focused so far now is in the people. And now I have done a lot of architectural for clients. So we want to use that opportunities to merge these two concepts, because a lot of time photography, basically you either one or the others. And now, like, might as well, you know, do something a little bit different and get a little bit twist and combine them both. And it would be very interesting and see, you know, can't wait to explore, see how that's going to come out. Yeah.
Is there a direction that your collaboration takes you into? Does it sometimes take you into a space you may not start out, or is it, are you pretty much single-minded in how you work with each other? I'm just curious.
Well, we bicker a lot. You know, but it's good. It's sort of like, no, don't put the light that way. It's going to give a bad shadow.
So it's constructive.
So it's constructive, and we go back and forth, and sometimes the models are like, oh my God, these guys are arguing. But really, it's just that we're going back and forth very quickly, and we know how each other works. So we're like, oh, no, don't put the light there. Remember what happened last time, you know? So we work that way in the studio. But in terms of concept, we have a lot of meetings about where do we want to go? How do we want to shape this? And Tommy's great at thinking through all of the technical angles of what we'll need to do. And what I'm thinking about is, you know, how are we going to get this done? You know, what are the logistics of sort of pulling all the pieces together?
So I assume that because you're working in the LA area, that you probably have people that are probably little less inhibited than in the Bay Area.
Yeah,
right. Yes, definitely.
We're definitely finding people are less shy than in the Bay Area. People are like, oh, you want to take my photo? Great. You know, so we do get a lot of responses. But with Sexy Geeks and with Men Over 50, what's really important is that we have the stories to go along with them. I mean, there's a lot of people who are willing to pose, but we really wanted it to be three-dimensional. So for instance, for Sexy Geeks, we have, you know, an interview that goes along with the person so that we get into their profession as well as the look that they're rocking at the time, you know. But then with Men Over 50, the stories really became the important thing.
So you're interested in getting the full picture, not just a snapshot.
Yes.
Right?
We don't want it to just be for our people photos. We don't just want it to be beefcake. We want it to be appealing and provocative, but not just
inspiration too.
Inspirational.
Right.
It's been very good and fascinating to talk to both of you.
Thank you.
So
thank you so much.
For those of you who are interested in finding more about Tommy+alan photography, look at your web browser and go online and check it out. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.